Hey, how's everybody going out there? All right, welcome to the show. This is Unfiltered, you guys, and my name is Ted. I am the host of this show, and this is a show where we unmask agendas and we expose the lies that seek to twist the faith, freedom, and truth in the church and in our communities today, and lately on YouTube, right? Or a lot on YouTube, maybe, huh? I don't know. But today we got a show for you guys, right? Today we're going to be doing a long one. I'm going to warn you ahead of time. I'm sure you saw it. If you seen this pop up on YouTube, you seen how long it was. This is going to be a long one, you guys, super long. And it's only because we're going to be reacting to this right here. So have you guys seen this? This is, I don't know if you're into the Christian YouTube stuff or whatever, I'm sure you know who this guy right here is, right? This is Ruslan, you guys. And he did an interview recently with Nathan Apffel from The Religion Business, you guys. Nathan Apffel has a documentary, right? And that's what we're not going to look at the documentary today, but we are going to look at Ruslan's interview. Here is The Religion Business, right? It's thereligionbusiness.com, you guys. You can go on here. Nathan Apffel did here, I'll show you a picture of Nathan, right? Let's look at Nathan. You'll see him here quick, but I think that's how you spell his name. There he is. That's him right there, you guys. This is Nathan Apffel, and he is the creator of this religion business here. He has a 7-part docu-series that is on Prime Video. Now you can also watch it here on their website. It is well worth the $23 or $17, whatever. It's well worth it, you guys. My wife and I watched it, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good. Nathan Apffel touches on some really tough topics that needs to be talked about today, right? The religion, here it says right here, the religion business exposes a growing problem in the nonprofit and religious sector, lack of transparency and oversight. And I don't know what to tell you guys, but that is a huge problem. There's a ton of there's a huge lack of transparency, and there's like no oversight, you guys. The oversight is done by the people in the organization. So they're doing their own oversight, right? But there's this claim that we got pastors from other churches that come in and whatever, but it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Those pastors are chosen. It's not like a pastor from any other organization can come or any other church can just walk into a church and sit down and be like, show me all your stuff, right? Nobody's going to do that. The oversight from these things are, they're done by friends of friends and things like this, these audits. Anyways, we'll talk about that more. But it says, through investigative reporting and real-world cases, it reveals how well-meaning intentions can mask financial mismanagement, ethical lapses, and broken trust with donors and communities. And then it gives a solution. As a first of its kind, Broken Shepherds brings transparency and accountability into the nonprofit sector by tracking donations in real time, you guys, breaking out expense allocations, and providing high-level financial reports, all in a simple app. Donors and stakeholders can monitor activities, ensuring every dollar is used responsibly, building trust, boosting credibility, and transforming how nonprofits operate, right? So that's what this guy's trying to do. Let's do this because Ruslan didn't, and you'll see that in a second, but let's watch the trailer, you guys.
Pastor Mac, we're going to walk in 5, 4, 3, 2, walk.
Let's sing of the goodness of God. God, we want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to worship you this morning.
You reap excellence if you sow effort. but you have to sow in order to reap. Have you been sowing in good deeds? Have you been sowing in repentance? Have you been sowing in faith? Have you been sowing in Bible reading and prayer? Have you been sowing so you can reap the grace and the mercy of God? Or have you been sowing things for your own lust and your own pleasures?
When I give to God, I am simply taking my hands off that which already belongs to Him.
Oh, Mr. Jones was a Bible-toting woman, made me pray at night. Taught me of the Lord, said, baby, don't you worry, you'll turn out right. But the world got meaner after granny died. Got me crying on my knees, trying to find a light. Walked into the church, saw the devil dancing in the pew. Don't make no sense. I'm a second from a breakdown.
God has to be first in your finances.
It's wrong to criticize leaders of the church, even if the criticism is true.
Don't make no sense, baby. I'm a second from a breakdown.
Inurements. That's a fun one. I don't choose my targets.
It's not a matter of resources. It's a matter of faith.
Trying to be a voice of reason, but I can't find the truth. Ha. Yeah, the world got meaner after granny died. Got me crying on my knees, trying to find a light. Walked into the church, saw the devil dancing in the pew, singing out, yeah, don't make no sense. I'm a second from a breakdown.
Tithing becomes a precious privilege. Tithing will keep your name enrolled among the people of God and protect you in the day of vengeance and burning.
May Jesus Christ use me as his prophet.
I have some questions about their financials, and I feel if I give them money, I just should be able to ask questions without feeling threatened or turned away.
People crying and dying, knowing it's coming. The Bible says that God will supply that need according.
And your heart and my heart hunger for relationships.
When we pray to survive, endure, make it through, that's a sick prayer.
Hello? Isn't that like the definition of inurement?
You are what I call a kiddie pool Christian.
People come to church at their most vulnerable, point. And all the money that's funding all this bull is given by these vulnerable people. And then there's these other people playing chess with their money.
All right, you guys. So that is the religion business, right? And it is out. My wife and I have watched it. Like I said, it's amazing. See, we are, I'm of the same mind. Nathan Apffel is a man after my own heart, you guys. Full disclosure. What he's doing is not easy. None of us are perfect. So, of course, what he's doing isn't going to be perfect. It's not, he's going to get some things wrong. He's going to say some wrong things. We're all walking unto death, right? Or unto life, I guess you could say, at the end, when we die. But we're all working on being better throughout our whole lives. The Spirit is, working on us and working through us. And sanctification is a real thing. So none of us get it right. And I do want to do Ruslan a justice here as well and say that he is also in the same boat. No one's perfect. None of us are perfect, you guys, right? So I just want to clarify that. Here, let's switch back here for just 1 second. Stick with me here. But, so what the religion business is doing is exposing something that has been a problem for a very long time, and that's the misuse of church funds, you guys. And I don't care if you got oversight or not through your buddies and your little closest relationships that you've all built. If you're not able as a church, as a pastor, as a Christian, as whatever you want to call yourself, a follower of Christ, if you aren't able to, when somebody asks you where your money's going or where their money's going or where any of the money's going for a religious organization who claims to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth, and you don't open your books up and say, it's right here. What do you want, a PDF file? Do you want an email? What do you want? Do you want hard copies? Here you go. That you're hiding something. I don't care what it is. You're hiding something. And because it's not like giving people your financials is going to allow them to mess around in your business or allow them to take your money and do something with it. That's not how it works. If you're hiding information regarding where people's money is going, and I don't even care if you're hiding it from somebody who doesn't believe, somebody who isn't part of your church. I don't care what it is. Anyone, a stranger on the street, if they ask you as a pastor, as a church, where's your money going? You should be able to say right here, right there. That's what we're going to be talking about today, mainly. And Ruslan gives his. This is a kind of a wild one. So stick around, you guys, and let's get to it, okay? Let's go. Here we go. We're going to dive in. This is the start of it. I think I'm 3 minutes, 29 seconds in because Ruslan had to give his little pitch to, for something in order to get his money for his business, which is fine. We make your money. I got no problem with people making money. And we'll see. So here we go.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Today's guest, the infamous, the one and only, the documentarian,
whatever you want to call it.
Nathan.
If you watch my channel, you know me. I like to interject. I'm going to try to keep myself from interjecting too much today. But there are some things, it's funny that Ruslan starts out by saying the infamous. He calls Nathan Apffel infamous, and I'm sorry, but that's a bunch of crap, honestly. Because the guy's trying to expose, abuses and fraud and misuse of of money in the church, corporation, the church, business, that makes him infamous. I mean, what a bunch of crap, you guys. I'm sorry, but he should be hailed as, a worker, a disciple. That's what, it's, when it comes to the church, this is kind of my mission. When it comes to the church, you guys, it's like, man, if you say anything against it, if you say anything against the church, man, you are, don't you talk about the church. Don't you talk about the church. It's like they're completely, intertwined with, as if you're talking about Jesus or God himself or something, if you say anything against the church, and nothing could be further from the truth. Jesus went into his house and flipped tables. He said, "You turned my father's house into a business." And he spoke out against the Pharisees taking money and things like that from its people, holding them under their thumb and stuff. He spoke, the Roman government. Anyways, let's keep going. Sorry about that.
Then How do you say your last name?
Apffel.
Apffel. Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Ruslan, by the way. So I've been mispronouncing your last name. You've been mispronouncing
Ruslan.
Yeah, Ruslan. It's all right. You got the southern twang. Hey, before we jump in, let me just first say two things. One, what you went through here in North County, and I know the church that happened at. I'm so friendly with some of the pastors at that church. Is pretty horrific. And it didn't just impact you with regards to that pastor getting charged with SA. It rocked our whole area.
Yeah.
Every pastor here was
when
hit
you
hard.
said Will, I listened to your book. When you were talking about Willie, is that Willie Register?
Different Willie.
Okay.
Different. But
Willie's awesome.
Willie Register is the homie. And I was just with Willie at the beach like 2 weeks ago. So shout out to Willie Register, North Coast Calvary, the whole squad over there. So one, I want to acknowledge that like that was awful and it impacted the whole region.
Oh, for sure.
Like everybody was gutted because of that. And then to hear subsequently what happened with your brother-in-law, I say that to say that I understand how someone can come to similar conclusions as you, having gone through what you've gone through.
Well, those two are just small blips in the radar. Like I would start off by saying when you said Nathan sounds like he's hurt. I'm not hurt at all from what happened with that individual. I saw it as a huge line of events in my life that God used to bring me to this moment.
Gotcha.
So it's not church hurt at all. I've spent years of my life overseas in developing nations now where I've gotten to see small churches, home churches, poor churches, for-profit models that are there to not be a burden on their congregation at all. And so that's when I started coming back to the States. And I'm like, man, our model is very pigeonholed and very hungry off of its congregants for survival. And so that's the lens the religion business came from. It wasn't like I
wasn't church hurt.
No, not at all. I want to be very clear on that. It wasn't.
Okay, I got something to say about this this church hurt, you guys. Church hurt, honestly, I'm so tired of hearing that church hurt is a bad thing, or it's like some excuse for, people in the church, pastors, leadership, whatever it may be, congregants saying, oh, well, you're just got church hurt, and you're just bitter because of it or whatever it is, right? I'm sorry, but what a load of crap. The fact that we even are saying, oh, it's not church hurt, and Nathan, Ruslan, these two here, they're acting like church hurt is like it has this stigma attached to it, right? And Nathan's like, oh, no, it's not church hurt. I want to be clear about that. And, Ruslan's like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Listen, when people are hurt, you don't get to sit there and just say, oh, it's, and then put this label on it and then all of a sudden stigmatize it and turn it into something that's like, you're just hurt. Listen, if somebody's hurt by any organization, then it needs to be affirmed. Like, we need to affirm that what happened to these people hurt them. I don't care if it's church hurt or whatever you want to call it, or it made them bitter or whatever it is. Something happened in an institution that is meant to, that is built on a foundation of love. I mean, the two commandments that were given are love, 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 love in that institution. And so if something happened where somebody was hurt and it made them bitter or made them not want to go to church anymore or made them turn away from God, I don't care what it is. That's them turning from God, them turning from the faith, them leaving the institution is on them and their soul and their, that's for them to work out with the Lord. But the person who hurt them doesn't get to get away with it, or the institution that hurt them doesn't get to get away with it by just explaining it away with some, oh, church hurt, they're bitter. Well, something happened and that person was hurt. And that's a real thing, whether, to them. And it rocked them. in a way that made them bitter or in a way that made them turn away from God or whatever it may be. But we need to get rid of this stigma attached to church hurt because people are being hurt. And pastors and religious institution and leaders in the church, congregants in the church are getting away with it and being able to continue their behavior because they're able to explain away somebody who got hurt and now doesn't come to church anymore and is bitter or whatever. You know, it's victim blaming, and it needs to stop. And these bigger Christian YouTubers out here, they should be advocating for that. They shouldn't be acting like it. They shouldn't be promoting this stigma. All right.
It was more of I see institutional church as my baby now.
Yeah.
And I want to bring it back to what its original purpose is.
You think subconsciously it could have been church hurt?
No.
Okay.
I wrestled with that a lot. We shot the whole show when I was 28. That was, I'd call church anger.
So there was a moment. Well, anger is a secondary emotion.
It was
to
a
hurt.
decade of So
you shot it at first when you were hurt and angry.
I was angry. Yeah, and we went around the U.S. and we filmed it. I had a camera operator with me. And in edit, I started string editing it, and I'm 41, so this is 14 years ago now. It felt angry.
Got it.
Like
Okay.
when I would play back, I always say it was like me screaming at a brick wall. There was no solutions. There was no what brought us to this moment. It was, I was frustrated.
Yep.
And so God does his thing and I shelved it and I went back into TV and broadcast and I continued
The second
my career.
time around, you felt like it wasn't.
And
that.
then the catalyst, so in my late 20s, then I started reading the Bible, like actually reading it cover to cover. And I'm like, wow, this is a different book than I was taught. And then I was living my own life, well away from faith. And I got a girl pregnant when I was 31. And when that baby came out, I've never been I've definitely against. And her mom was like, hey, I don't think I'm going to have this child. She lived out of state. And she's like, unless you move here. And so I'm like, okay, sold everything I had. And I'm like, I'm moving.
That's how you ended up in Utah?
That's how I ended up in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. So you were in Hawaii. How did you end up in Utah?
COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, I just couldn't fly. And I was working. Yeah, they were just a nightmare. But so it was that me becoming a father where I realized what ultimate love was from a human's perspective.
Yeah.
That I was able to take that lens and shift it to my upbringing with church. And I said, I love some of those early memories. I love singing in choir as a kid. And so I took that fatherhood lens and I applied it to the church. And so the first time we shot, it was like in my 20s, I was pissed off. I'm like, there's serious wrongs being done in this institution.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't mature enough to articulate it. And so it was, again, out of my sin that God gave me this beautiful baby girl that understanding what the love of a father was.
You got here.
Brought me to where I could come here to this today and sit on Sean and confidently present my arguments, sit here with you and confidently present my arguments. And
Okay. Well, speaking of sitting on Sean, we both ended up on Sean Ryan.
Yeah.
You being on Sean Ryan is what got me on Sean Ryan.
You're welcome.
So
No,
I was gonna say, dude, thank you, because I reacted to some of the back and forth.
They're talking about Sean Ryan's podcast, guys. He's not a Christian podcast or anything like that. Sean Ryan, if you don't know who he is, let's look for Sean Ryan's podcast, and I will put links. I'll try to remember to put links to the podcast that Nathan was on, and
all right, Ryan.
As well as
it's been about 3 years since you've been on the show. I wanted to
let's pause that. Okay, here's Sean Ryan's show, you guys. Right here. This is Sean Ryan. This is his podcast. So they did. I don't know how long ago it was. There was Nathan, right? Yep, there's Nathan Apffel right there. It looks like 2 months ago. I'm not seeing. Let's see if we can find Ruslan's. Ruslan's must not have done as well, huh? Just get it. Let's see here, though. Where we at? 1 month ago. Let's keep going. 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, 1 month. There's Nathan Apffel. And so I thought Ruslan's was after Nathan's. Anyways, I'll try to find them before I post the video, and I'll try to put links to their videos that they did, the interviews they did on Sean Ryan, in the description. So if you want to check those out as well, I'll also put links to Nathan's channel, and Ruslan's channel I will not. And you'll see why throughout this thing. Ruslan doesn't want to promote Nathan or support him. You'll see later on if you guys stick around this far, have stuck around still. He says blatantly, "I didn't want to support you. I don't support your mission. I don't support what you're doing." Because Ruslan is, he's one of these guys that claims to be Christian. I don't know if he is or if he isn't. We're not questioning people's salvation, but he does not. He's one of these Christians that doesn't necessarily, when it comes down to brass tacks and you peel away the layers, you don't see the fruit of the spirits being, or the fruit of the Spirit being presented, right? And we'll see some of it here today. But all right, let's keep going.
With you and Russ B. Johnson, who's an acquaintance.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to engage with anything else.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I want to talk to Nate. I don't want to talk about Nate. I want to wait for that moment. And then that came out, and I had a few people that were close to me that were like, hey, you should really react to this. I think you could speak into this well. And so I did. And then oddly enough, the thing I didn't want to do is what got me on Sean Ryan. And fast forward, Jeremy kind of probably nudged both of us along of like, you guys need to talk. Shout out to Jeremy and Sean Ryan, all those folks over here. And so now we're here.
Yeah. A great team. Like Sean was very nervous to talk with me. And so I give him mad props, and I give Jeremy mad props, and I give you mad props. We are a firebrand that we always say we're bulls in china shops, and so it's nerve-wracking to talk with us.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this. I think from my vantage point, two things. One, like I am a byproduct of the local church. Like broken family, father not in my life, mother's an alcoholic, arrested at the age of 11, assaulted, like the whole bit, promiscuous from a very young age on drugs. And so I can say with good amount of certainty and confidence, like I wouldn't be doing none of what I'm doing, nor would I be a stable husband and father had it not been for the local church. Like forget YouTube, just like a husband and father that's functional if it wasn't for the local church. And so I'm a byproduct of a thought system, but it's
so you see Ruslan talking about how he wouldn't be stable father, whatever it is. He wouldn't be where he's at if it wasn't for the local church, right? He attributes all of his everything that is good in his life, all these things that he's, have helped him and whatever it is, made him who he is. He gives the church, i.e. the business church, the building church, the corporation church. Not people, not the, I don't know, maybe he means the church as the people and all that. Still, the whole point is that nowhere is there any credit given to Jesus, right? None of it. And I don't know, I don't watch Ruslan stuff. This came up because I watch, Nathan Apffel stuff. Because I think he's hitting on a topic that needs to be more talked about, which is why I'm doing this long video, this long one today. It's going to be even longer than theirs, but it's because this talk is so important, and that's why I'm taking the time to do this. I just can't, I have to speak into this. I have to, or at least, because I think Nathan needs more support, you guys. We need to support people out there that are doing this kind of work because it's hard. They're hated. Like he said, they're a firebrand. It's people who try to speak against leadership in the church and are hated and pushed aside and told that if you talk to them, then you can't even be at this church anymore. And it happens a lot more than what Ruslan would try to try to want us to think that it does. It is way more prevalent in the church. It is not a fringe. It is not an outlier. But and I think we're seeing that because YouTube, because social media, we're there are more and more people coming out of the woodwork saying, we don't go to church anymore. We quit going to church. Home churches are more prevalent. They're popping up everywhere, and it's for this reason. But yeah, so he's a product of the church. He gives all of his he gives all the praise to the church and all the glory to the church, right? All the, they get all the recognition. Nowhere do you hear him say, Jesus did this, Jesus. I mean, maybe he's trying to speak into the church. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? I'm not trying to just attack this guy, but maybe he means the church as a whole, Jesus as a whole, and they're all one, maybe, when he speaks about it. I don't know. But when we're not saying it and we're just talking about the church, especially in this context of the conversation that he's having with his guest, who is explicitly there. So who knows? All right, let's keep going.
System that nevertheless discipled me, cultivated me, developed me, and released me to do what I'm doing now. On top of which, and people might think this is disingenuous, I really don't have a dog in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get.
You might after this call or after this conversation.
I don't get brought out to the mega churches. Mm-hmm. My friends who are mega church pastors aren't having me preach on Sundays.
Yeah.
We're going the opposite route. I'm doing a theater tour in the spring of hard ticket sales.
Yeah.
Just so that when I'm defending the church and when I'm celebrating the beauty of the church and what the church has been in my life, there's a whole chapter in my book about the local church that no one can put that asterisk next to my name and say, well, Ruslan, he's really in it for the money because he's getting these big fat honorariums.
There's one thing I assume you're a for-profit company, right?
Absolutely. A for-profit company.
I respect that immensely.
And to be fair, I have been encouraged by some people to say, hey, like you should really consider a nonprofit. You're doing your Bless God Summit, which we do a big summit. It's our second annual. I lose a ridiculous amount of money on that, just giving away, probably we offered 100 tickets, so lost probably $40,000 this past March. It's coming up again this March. So I don't, so I've been told like, hey man, you might really want to start a nonprofit so that
please don't,
so that you have a way to collect donations because this is actually a ministry thing that you're losing money on.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the need for that yet. I'd much rather partner with local churches and say, hey guys, here's the needs. How about we tell people to give money to you and you guys fill in some of the needs that we have. We're doing a big outreach, the finale of the Bless God Summit, where we're gonna have some artists. I'll tell you who they are off the record. So I say all that to say, like, I don't have a dog in a fight.
Yeah.
I love the local church. I think pastors have become, the stereotype of the pastor is the stereotype of the father in the 90s. It's the Al Bundy, Homer Simpson, like goofy, like, and they're just so easy to dunk on. They're so easy to make fun of. And I value pastors. I value my pastor.
So why are they so easy to dunk on?
I mean, there's probably a plethora of reasons why pastors are easy to dunk on. I think on a macro sense, I think people, especially post-COVID, are highly skeptical of institutions in general. Anything institutional, anything big, anything with power, people are already skeptical of. So I think that's a reason. I also think what is a stereotype? Do you know what a stereotype is?
Yeah.
What's a stereotype?
Look, I don't think that giving it this attributing this big corporations where people are skeptical of these things already because of COVID or whatever, it's kind of I don't know, man, it's kind of a lame duck argument, if you ask me. I think that the church is to be held to a higher standard. Definitely pastors at the top of that, and then the leadership as we go down are held to a higher standard. And it's not to say that they don't make mistakes and things like that. It's just that they're held to a higher standard. If you want to be in that position, then that's the the responsibility that you take on with that position. And the Bible says that you will be persecuted for Jesus. You will be hated because he was hated, right? And so when we sit there and we act like these things are bad, when the pastor is questioned or a church is questioned or leadership is questioned, or, people are skeptical of these institutions and stuff like that. And we pass it off as, oh, well, COVID did it, or, acting like they shouldn't be. It's just, again, it's a tool of the abuser to say those kinds of things, oh, you shouldn't question us. Oh, you shouldn't be skeptical of us. Oh, you shouldn't, none of this. You shouldn't hold us to a higher standard. You shouldn't hate us. You shouldn't persecute us. You get what I'm saying? All right.
It's like a stereotype is a quasi, fake allegory of a person. So you said, I don't watch TV, but Homer Simpson is what a pastor is. That's a stereotype.
The way that
you could say,
fathers
Nathan, I called you your church hurt. That's a stereotype because you didn't know me.
Yeah.
So you put a stereotype, you pigeonholed me, and you said,
I don't know about the church hurt. I don't know about the church hurt thing, but a stereotype is it's a hasty generalization fallacy. It's a small sample.
The church hurt thing. The church hurt thing is definitely a stereotype, you guys. Like I said, there's a stigma attached to it, right? So when you attach a stigma to something and then you use a label like church hurt, your church hurt, and you use that. My chair, wrong lever. All right, there we go. And you use that. You're stereotyping. You're pigeonholing somebody into, this box of who they are and why they're acting the way they're acting, And he, this is Ruslan. I mean, he's really good at this kind of stuff about kind of passing off these things. It's like he said, I don't have a dog in the fight. He absolutely has a dog in the fight. He has a podcast. It's a Christian podcast. He's got a record company or whatever it is, a studio where he puts out songs with artists that are Christian. He donates heavily to his church, like he loves to tell everybody. And he speaks at churches. I mean, he has a dog in the fight, whether he wants to or not, or, whether he wants to admit it. So, and then to say that, oh, well, I don't know about the church hurt thing being a stereotype, Why? Because you use it against people who are hurt, Ruslan? That's why you don't want to say it's a stereotype, because you couldn't possibly be stereotyping anybody, right?
Is brought across a large group of people.
So church hurt, I would say in general, is a stereotype, because as soon as someone's frustrated with their church, you go, their church hurt. Yep. So that's a stereotype.
Maybe. Okay. Maybe I've never thought about it that way, but perhaps.
Of course, you never thought about it that way, because you use church hurt to
that have absolutely
stereotype
some
people.
Very goofy things.
Yeah.
Some
exactly
folks
what Nathan's talking about.
That I've talked about, that we would lock arms in and say, that's terrible. Mm-hmm. That's 20,000 square foot parsonages. Out of control.
Yeah.
There's people that I haven't watched a docuseries, and I did ask you to send it to me. You didn't send it to me, but that's okay.
I bought your book. I didn't ask you for your book.
You bought my book?
I read it, or I listened to it on Audible.
Okay. What'd you think?
It was good.
Yeah, see, look at that. Nathan bought Ruslan's book. And here you see why.
A chapter on church.
It was good. Yeah. It's interesting to know your backstory. The conclusion was solid. Like it helped me analyze my thoughts on how on what we're going to talk about today. So and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see your lens and where you're coming from.
Yeah. I would have sent you a free copy of the book.
But I wanted to support you, bro.
Well,
so it's like I wanted to understand.
See, he says he wanted to support him. He wanted to support Ruslan, whether he agrees with him or not. He just wanted to support what he's doing, because that's just being a good human being, right? We support others, especially if you're going to go on a show with them, and you buy their book or whatever and you read it. You take time out of your life. Like, time is the most valuable thing in this world, you guys. Time is. We all know this, right? And, we get paid for our time at our job. We spend time with our families. It's the most important thing. And when you sit and you sit down and you take time to read the Bible, you spend time with God. That's what God wants. That's because that's the most valuable thing, right? And for Ruslan to not even take the time or to spend we saw how much it was. It was $22. The guy, I just spent $40,000 on an event that I did and we lose money, is no problem for him, but he can't spend $22 and take the time to sit down and watch the person who is coming onto his show nonetheless. Nathan bought what was Ruslan's book and took time out of his life to read it, to learn about Ruslan, and to get a better understanding of him and who he is and where he's coming from. Because that's just, man, you're being genuine, it's called integrity. And it's not even Nathan's show. He's a guest and he wanted to learn about him. And this dude's having him on as a guest on his show, and he doesn't even take the time to watch dude's documentary to actually understand the point and the side and the angle that Nathan's coming at this topic. So Ruslan's he's being disingenuous because he's coming at this interview without trying to understand fully what Nathan is trying to say or what he's trying to accomplish fully. Because he doesn't care. He's already stereotyped Nathan as church hurt. As we see, he doesn't even see that as a stereotype. And he does it all the time, I'm sure of it. He's already made up his mind about who Nathan is, and he doesn't care. So he just brings it, and he doesn't care to learn, He's too busy to actually put a little time into learning about his guests. Ruslan, you're a joke, man. I'm sorry, but that's just rude. This is rude, dude.
And your lens on stewardship.
Yes.
That was what I wanted to
got you.
really hear about.
And I would like to hear more about that as we move on. So I say that I have to say that I think there are people that you have called out that don't want to sit down with me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you who they are offline. Like we are actively working and they don't want to talk to me because they know I'm going to ask them maybe some of the same questions you ask them. So, but the overall frame I think is, man, the stereotype of the pastor that's becoming today is much similar to the stereotype of the dad in the 90s, where was there some truth in an Al Bundy? Was there some truth in a Homer Simpson? Yeah, probably. There was probably some truth in that.
Yeah.
Was that most dads in the 90s? Was that how most men who were husbands and fathers carried themselves in the 90s? I would say, I don't think so. And so that's what I mean by now today, the pastor is the punching bag of the whatever community online that's disenfranchised and frustrated and maybe has some legitimate gripes as you do, as I do, as Mike Winger does, as all kinds of people, Melissa Dotery. There's a ton of people that have done the same style of call out, some of the same people you've called out. But the difference is, are we now generalizing too broadly to the point where good pastors, pastors that show up to bury people, marry people, come to the hospital visits, are doing the counseling and doing a talk and leading a staff. My pastor, this is my pastor all the time.
Jeff Morris?
Jeff Morris.
Okay. Yeah.
All the time, showing up for, I don't know how many funerals he's done, you know? And there's good pastors that I think are catching some of the strays in the same way that it was easy to dunk on the dads in the 90s. And that's my concern. Is I want to protect pastors because once upon a time, I too was frustrated. Once upon a time, I did experience some stuff. I was at a church that did have some institutional issues. And by the grace of God, the system held up and it worked out. And I can tell you more about that later. And now I'm in a spot where man, I'm at a healthy.
So you guys, if a pastor is a good pastor and he's doing the pastoral thing and all that, then he's got nothing to worry about. That's not who we're talking about here, right? That's not who Nathan's talking about either. He's talking about transparency with money in the church. That's it. He's not talking about whether a pastor is a good pastor or bad pastor, none of that stuff, So Ruslan's if a pastor's a good pastor, he's got nothing to worry about. Nobody's attacking good pastors out here, you know what I mean? But for him to act like they are being attacked or something, and so what? So they get caught up in it. Who are they to please, right? Galatians chapter 1, verse 10 talks about we're not to please people because it displeases the Lord.
Church, and I'm sitting underneath a great pastor, and I get to travel.
What would you define as a healthy church? Just so I can
let me finish this thought.
Okay.
And then and I'm meeting a lot of pastors. I'm sitting with a lot of pastors. Some pastors, a lot of them are bivocational, laying concrete on whenever they can to make ends meet. Others are taking a modest salary, and some that have built churches and gone from a few hundred to a few thousand, and they make six figures. And I've met a plethora of them. And generally, and this is anecdotal, but I think some of the data that we can get into supports this. Generally, they're good dudes. Generally, they're doing their best. Generally, they're underpaid. Generally, they're really trying to preach the gospel. So what is a good pastor? Is a healthy church?
Healthy church.
Healthy church. Yeah, I think a healthy church preaches and teaches the word of God. I think that is the primary function of the church, is to locally gather for preaching and teaching of the word of God and for corporate worship. I think there is usually counseling available, some sort of care and shepherding available, much like North Coast Calvary, which has one of the best Christian counseling programs in San Diego. I think there's usually counseling available. There's discipleships, there's small groups, there's community, there's life on life. My preference is, multi-generational life on life. The older men who were in my life that were in their 40s when I was a teen or when I was 20, and the sacraments. And I think the church does the local sacraments. I think the church is the institution that Jesus established. He said the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And I believe that God...
All right, we got to stop there. He says he thinks the church is the institution that Jesus implemented, and he said the gates of hell will not prevail against it. You guys, the church, and we'll see here in a minute what Nathan talks about. The church is the ecclesia, right? It is the people, the believers of Christ, right? We're the church. We're the ecclesia, not... There's a whole thing about the word church and how it isn't even a direct translation of ecclesia. It was kind of a slang term that was being thrown around way back when, and it kind of got mixed up. The translators translated ecclesia as church, and because it kind of took on the people, the body of Christ. Kind of took on the same, they kind of morphed into the same thing as church, right? They were kind of referred to as the same thing. It was almost interchangeable, but that's a man thing. That was a man-made thing that was slang through language that turned them into the same thing and made them interchangeable. But it's not a biblical thing. It's definitely not. The gathering together of believers does not mean church. Church is a made-up word by men, and it's not a building. Has nothing to do with a building. Nothing whatsoever. Anyways. So he says the gates of hell will not prevail against it. What he's talking about there is the people, the believers. What Jesus is talking about in Matthew 16, I believe it is it's the people that the gates of hell will not prevail against. It's the statement of faith that Peter just made. Let's actually bring it up here, you guys. I'm going to bring it up right here. Should we go to New King James? Let's see, Matthew, we're already Matthew. Let's go to 16. Oops. 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, and 16. Peter confesses Jesus as the Christ. When Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Who do men say that I am? The Son of Man am?" I guess. Who do I, the Son of Man, am? Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? There we go. So they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus answered and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." So it was a thing that the Spirit revealed to Peter, this truth that he is the Son, or the Son of the living God. Jesus is. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, my ecclesia, my gathering of people on this rock. What is the rock? The rock is the statement of faith, you guys. And the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. And there's the binding and loosing that the false teachers like to use, thinking that it has it where it never mind. We're not going to go into that today. But it is, and on this rock, the rock is the statement of faith that Peter made. Okay, and on that statement of faith, the statement that Jesus is the Son of the living God, that is what Christ will build his gathering of people. And the gates of Hades will not prevail against people who are in Christ, people who believe in Jesus, who are part of the church body, right? The people. So yeah, okay, there we go. And but what Ruslan likes to do is he likes to act like it is like it's a building, like he's talking about the building. Nobody will. How many churches are closed every year, you guys? You know what I mean? Let's look at that here. Let's look at one more thing here. Oops. Let's go back here, open up another tab. Let's see. Estimates for annual church closures in the United States vary, but recent data suggests between 4,000 and 10,000 churches close each year. For instance, a study from a decade ago ending in 2020, or from a decade ending in 2020, found 3,800 to 7,700 closures annually, right? So if churches are closing, you guys, why is, I thought the gates of hell couldn't stand against it. So why'd the church close? Why are all these closing? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not a building. It's the people. It's this, and it's built upon the statement of faith and that Jesus is the Son of the living God. That's what will not fail. That's what will not be prevailed against by hell. Okay, now that I have made that absolutely clear, hopefully, let's keep going.
God is moving and active through the local church. And I don't know, at your church and where you go, we've seen a huge uptake within the last year of just young men flooding back to church.
For sure. They're looking for morality, and they're looking for mentorship and leadership. 100%.
Yes, and they're looking for truth. I think they're looking for something transcendent. I think we've tried the new atheist, secularism, and I think that's failed people.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say a local church, a good local church is the local ecclesia gathering
so
of believers.
Let's separate those two, or I would love to separate those two for a second, because the biblical church is just the gathering, right?
The local ecclesial gathering. That's what that word in the Greek means.
So
is church.
It means gathering. It's just it's humans.
Yes, it's a civic word.
Yeah, it has nothing to do
within a gathering of people within a civic context.
It has nothing to do with the structures in the legal architecture that we built around it.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So I just wanted to see if we were on the same page.
And I would say that the structures and the legal architectures were built.
So he agrees with that, with what a church is. I also agree. I hope you guys agree as well, that is the church. It is not a building. It is not a structure. It is not a structured building or a structure of how things are to be done. It's not what it is at all. And the funny thing is that Ruslan agrees with that, but then he goes on to defending the church and how he's been describing the church kind of up until this point is as a building, for the most part. And I think that, when we think of church, it's just been so ingrained into our heads, into our physiology, that a church is a building. You know, you drive by, there's a church, there's church. Oh, we're going to church today. What did you do at church today? You know, yeah. Do you go to church? Yes, I go to church. You know, all these things. It's you're always going to a place that we call church, and it's not true, you guys. When you sit around the dinner table with your family and you all pray, you're in church. You know, I do want to touch on this fact really quick before we get back into it about this whole idea that where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am. You know, we kind of, that's having to do, I believe that's Matthew 18, right? Let's go there really quick. Let's go back here. I think that's Matthew. Boy, we're in Matthew today, huh? Matthew 18. We're going to go down. The sinning brother, right? Dealing with the sinning brother. If your brother sins against you, you have gained your brother. But if surely I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Has nothing to do with actually like binding. It just has to do with rules, right? In church. And whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So these are things that are already bound in heaven, already, you know, beforehand. It's all part of God's will. We're not going to get into that. Again, I say to you that if two of you agree on earth concerning anything that they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them. So this is talking about church discipline, you guys. It has to do that where the two or the three are gathered in together in my name, I am there in the midst of them. So, I mean, it could be applied maybe to the broader idea that where, you know, when we all get together in a setting where we're all together and we're praising God or reading the Bible, you know, I mean, God's there, obviously. Jesus is there, obviously. But that verse in context is concerning, you know, church discipline, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about all that. Matter of fact, don't listen to me about. Okay, let's keep going.
With the 1950s, that the local church and how it's functioned predates any legal IRS structures, and it's predated that, and that's probably why it doesn't fall into whatever 501c3b categories.
But so we're protecting, which I want to get into. Most pastors with good intentions, like you said, will protect the quote unquote local church, but the local church is based off of an IRS set of rules, not the biblical set of rules. And we can get into exactly what those are. And when you go through them, what we see today as a quote unquote church or a religious institution is just a checklist by the IRS.
Yeah, or it's a system to file taxes, to keep in order, to keep structure. I don't think, are you saying all structures are bad?
No. I'm just saying.
You have some sort of corporation.
Why? Why do we need it? Why do we need this? This like why? It puts the focus on. Here's the thing. Christ demolished a structured system, right? When we see the Jews, and Christ says, "This temple will not stand, not one rock upon another." And I probably just butchered that, but where he says, "You will see this temple tore down," right? And then the veil is torn when Christ is crucified on the cross. That the veil, I believe, represents the structure of the church, and this wall that is between believers and God, right? And Christ tore that down. And in the process, which I believe the veil represented, the old covenant and the new covenant also, I think, ties in there somehow. We're not trying to do a theological lesson today on these things, but they're important, right, to understand this. And so what we see God doing when Christ was on the earth and then when he died. And then after he died, what we see is the old system. There was a system in place. There were temples, there were synagogues, there was a religious system, and there were places of worship, right? And what we see is that they were torn down. God demolished them, the building, the temple. There is no more temple in Jerusalem. And so is it so hard to understand or think about that the idea that God didn't like the man-made structure, the man-made system of, and well, let's say it was God's temple, right? He gave instructions on how to build temples, things like that. Okay, so we'll go there. And then what happened is God tore it down himself. He said this is being misused by men, and they have turned it into, like we said earlier, that Jesus flipped the tables and it turned it into a den of thieves. They ruined the institution of church. And yes, we could call the Old Testament temples, well, New Testament too. We could call the old temple system church, you guys. We absolutely could. Because what was it? It was a gathering together of believers in God, in Yahweh, for the teaching and preaching of his word and for the exhortation, right? The lifting up, the learning, the praising of God, the worship of God, right? Because worship is reading his word. So the temple was church, you guys. It was church. They went to it once a week. They did it. They went to temple, right? Just like they go to church. They would say, "Oh, we're going to temple. We're going to temple. We're going." Just say, "Oh, we're going to church. We're going to church." It's the same exact system put into place, you guys. The same exact one. Make no mistake. Church today is the exact same system as the temple back then. And God tore down the temple. Do you really think the Lord would tear down his temple and say there's going to be no more temple in order to just replace it with another temple system? Think about it. Makes no sense. No sense at all. This is where Christians go now, and they didn't have access to temple. That's a lie. Gentiles were going to temple. We see that I believe it's in the book of Acts, where they were talking and saying, well, how do we learn the rest? How do we learn more about Yahweh? How do we learn more about Jesus? And that they would say, or not Jesus, but how do we learn more about Yahweh? And they would say, we teach you about Christ, and you will learn Moses in temple, right? Gentiles would go to temple, you guys. Believe it or not, they did. It's in the Bible. Here, see if I can find it, huh? Hold on a minute. Here we go, right here. Here's Acts 10:28. Then they said to them, "You know how unlawful it is for a Jewish man to keep company with or go to one of another nation. But God has shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean." Hold on here. Let's see. This is not what I'm talking about. This is kind of a hard thing to search on Bible. The Bible app. Let's go like this. Let's just Google it. Yes, Gentiles were permitted to go to the court of the Gentiles, the outmost courtyard of the Herodian temple in Jerusalem, where they could pray and learn about God, you guys. It was forbidden for them to enter the inner courtyards But they could go. Gentiles could go to temple. So it was church. That's exactly what it was. All right. If I haven't made my point yet, no. All right. Hope you guys are still with me. Like I said, grab some popcorn. We're all sitting down. We're watching this together, and we're gonna go through it. I'm doing my take on some of these points, some of these things I'm seeing. Nathan, God bless him, he tries his best here. He's got a big mission to do, and it's easier said than done, you guys. It's a lot easier to sit here in my home and watch a video and then react to it than it is to actually be behind that microphone right there and be dealing with some of these issues and to catch them all. It's tough. So, oops, right here.
We have many. What I'm saying is the legal architecture that we call a church today is not a biblical architecture.
Sure, people make the same exact argument about marriage, though, Nathan. People will say that piece of paperwork doesn't mean anything, and it's just there to. This is the red pill space.
It's a straw man
to position the woman and give her incentive to leave, right? And it's like, well, there are protections within the context of a legally binding marriage that actually do protect women in case.
Marriage has nothing to do with church, and a marriage license has nothing to do with what this conversation is even about. Look at Nathan. He's like, dude, I can't even. What are you even talking about, man? Like, what are you talking about, dude? And we'll see Ruslan do this a lot in this. Like, he makes these weird, like, random, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's strange.
They are abandoned. That's the overflow of it. And so having a legal entity or a legal structure isn't always a bad thing. It's often a good thing.
So the marriage license is to protect the woman?
That's why some of the licenses with regards to, like, you can't abandon a woman, different era and time without alimony, restitution, or was it alimony, child support, right? So there are absolutely cases where you want to protect the woman and you want to protect people and vulnerable children, because if you don't have any sort of legal recourse, a dude can just bounce. And so would you say the legal marriage, is there something wrong with that? That's a bad institution, that's a bad structure legally?
I have problems with how it's tied to the state, yes.
Okay. So it sounds like you have broader problems with institutions in general.
I have problems with legacy institutions because legacy institutions have to reform.
Okay.
If a legacy institution doesn't reform, as technologies creep in, as modernity creeps in, those systems corrupt.
But every institution gets corrupted at some point.
That's why you got to reform them. Correct?
People are evil, and
wait. So you agreed with me on Sean Ryan? I said every institution corrupts eventually, and all your followers say, "Oh, he's saying." Anybody who says every institution or makes these broad assumptions and statements is his statement's a failure. So right there, you just said every institution corrupts. So you agree with me?
No. Hold on, back up. The gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Yes, do we agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the church,
the ecclesia, the body of Christ,
the body of Christ, which is small and large. It's in homes, it's in buildings, and we can get into the church history of it if you want to. But it is very diverse.
With the best scholars in the world on church history. So you should have watched The Religion Business.
You should have sent it to me. I asked you for it in January, and you never sent it to me.
Free shows on via Amazon.
You had it before the Amazon. You could have sent me a screener.
Anyway,
you're not giving me a screener?
A raw copy of the show? No.
Oh, come on, man. I've gotten screeners from all sorts of documentaries and all sorts of films all the time. No, really, from Amazon. I got stuff in my Amazon right now that was just sent to me from.
I don't know how to send free screeners from Amazon.
I'm saying it happens. So anyway, we don't have to nitpick on that. So what were we? We were talking about the institutional church. You're saying
that church will not. The gates of Hades.
The gates of Hades will not prevail. You agree with that?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you agree that churches can be big and small.
I agree. There's one church.
Okay. Can churches gather in small settings and large settings?
Can gatherings be large and small? 100%.
Okay. So churches can gather and can churches gather in big buildings?
If they want to.
Okay. So churches can gather in big buildings. They can gather in small buildings. They can gather in homes. This has been the historic church, yes?
The building is not the church.
Never said the building was the church.
Yeah, that is the historic church. It's an organism that flows through systems.
Sure.
And that's why Christianity flowed through Rome and took over Rome.
Sure.
was because it was an organic organism that moved through walls, through systems.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. So you're not talking about will systems eventually corrupt? Is that the
Correct.
question?
Man-made systems and architectures will always fail.
So man-made systems, because there's people that are sinful, will have issues all the time. Every system, every corporation, every business, every nonprofit. So because systems will corrupt, are you then saying that we should flee the systems? Because this is how we got in trouble.
Saying we need to reform the systems, and we need the systems to be as transparent and accountable as possible, especially the local church. The Christ-centered church should be the beacon of accountability and transparency. It should be the light to the world.
Amen.
Instead, it functions in the darkest legal architecture in the U.S.
Okay, so let's back up. You believe that systems do get corrupt.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. But you say we reform them from the inside.
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel like you're reforming them from the inside?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you send a $20 donation to somebody and then you show up to their church and demand to see all their books, you think you come off like a friendly person.
I didn't do that once.
You've never done that?
No.
You've never sent a small donation and asked to see the salaries of pastors?
I've called them.
Okay.
I've emailed them.
Okay.
I emailed their lawyers.
So you have?
I reached out. No, before I showed up, I have called them.
Okay.
For years.
Okay.
I sent them emails saying, hey, I don't like who I am, Nathan Apffel, making this show. I gave you a donation. I want to see where it goes. I call their general counsel saying, hey.
You just said you didn't, Nathan.
You said you give them a donation and then show up.
And then show up. Okay.
No,
so
there
you never
was
showed up,
months.
but you've asked.
There was months in between of due
You've
diligence.
given a donation.
Sometimes years.
And you've asked to see their records.
Yeah.
Do you think that is someone that is acting as a friendly person within the church?
It doesn't matter.
100%. I'm here to call the church back to its original mission. You don't need to like me. These pastors don't need to like me.
I actually do like you.
Yeah.
Personally, you seem like a good hang.
Yeah.
So it's not about liking you. I'm saying when Luther reformed the church, when the Reformation happened, he did it from within.
Guess what? The Vatican didn't like Luther either.
He didn't, but but what did he do? He did it from within the institution. He did it as
he walked outside and he printed
Luther didn't. Okay, you guys. Luther did not reform the church from within. We would not still have the Catholic Church if Luther and the Vatican, if Luther reformed it from within. Luther removed himself from the system and then reformed it from outside with the help of others. He actually went up against the system. He didn't reform it from within. This just shows how Ruslan, he says, the church is the people. The church is, and it's just a gathering of people. It's not a building, but it comes back to like the way he thinks and the way it's all about the church is a building. It is this entity, this thing that,
of the 95 Theses.
Yes, and put them on the wall of the church that he was a part of.
That was distributed widely.
But what did he put them first?
He didn't say, I want to go talk to the Pope.
Where did he put them first?
He nailed it to the wall.
So he put them on the door of the church. The church back then, what Ruslan fails to understand is that it was the most powerful thing there was at the time during the Reformation. The church was in power. It was a theocracy at that point. And it was like town square. You know what I mean? Like the church was like the government center almost. It was that big of a deal. And to act like it was some little church building or something on the corner of the, in the back corner of the town, and like, he put the stuff on the door of it, and all the congregants from the church would see it and stuff. No, the entire town saw it. The whole city saw this, right? It was a big statement. It was not from within. It was without.
Exactly. He did it within the cathedral and within the system of the church.
That's
so my question.
I'm technically.
So my question to you is: you demanding to see people's books?
I don't demand to see anybody's books.
Okay.
I said, hey, Ed Young, you've got $15 million in real estate. No one knows your housing allowance. Can we get some clarity on this? And what did he do? He sicked his armed guards because his lawyer wouldn't respond. That's
What
me
did you
going.
What did you want clarity on?
I want clarity on how a pastor can own $15 million in real estate, build a real estate empire off the back of donor dollars without the donors knowing what his housing allowance is.
Is it possible? I don't know Ed Young. I've never met Ed Young a day in my life. Is it possible? Is it possible that Ed Young had a book deal, had a best-selling book? Is it possible Ed Young had some side businesses? I'm asking. I don't know.
Ed Young.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter if he had a book deal or some side stuff going on. That's not how he paid for it.
Young paid himself $240,000 a year in a tax-free housing allowance in 2005. Now it's
Can
probably.
you guys read that? Instead of living in parsonages, Young Senior and Junior live in homes they personally own. In 2005, Fellowship Church's board of directors approved a tax-exempt $240,000 housing allowance for Young Junior. The church also provided housing allowances for 28 additional church employees, you guys. $250,000 to the pastor's son, and then also allowances for 28 additional church employees. So this is a perfect example of the accountability with church boards, members on the elders or whatever you want to call it. The ones who make the financial decisions, they all are in working together. They're all buddy. And we're not saying every single church, every single member, every single elder. That's not what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong. It's that it is ripe for corruption. It is ripe for them getting together, this group of people, and all working together to live high on the hog off of their congregation. And they all say, a lot of churches don't have 28 employees, right? There are churches who have 3, 4, and they make the decisions. So it's a lot tighter knit group of people. A lot easier to abuse when you only have a few people that need to make the decisions. Right? It takes place in large churches and small churches because it's a bunch of friends all together making decisions. And if churches have no accountability, they don't have to report money or spending, then who's to keep them, There's nobody there to say, hey, you shouldn't do that, right? Because they don't even tell their congregation.
To $1 million a year. That housing allowance covers the down payment on the home, the mortgage payments on the loan, real estate taxes, property taxes, utilities, furnishings, and appliances.
What's his total comps package?
No one knows.
Okay, so wait. So his housing allowance is $250K?
No, this was in 2005.
Okay, so $250K in 2005. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
No, that's his housing allowance alone.
Okay, so I think
not his clothing allowance.
I think that's a bit exorbitant. Do you think that reflects most pastors?
Every pastor plays by this rule book.
Right.
There's a difference between having parsonages and having allowances for housing to save on taxes. And do most pastors do this? That is my question to you. Do most pastors do this?
Take a housing? I don't know. No one knows.
Okay, well, let's put it to you this way.
They play in the same game, though. So what Ed Young is doing.
That's what, this is where this conversation constantly goes, is Ruslan likes to point it at, do most pastors do this? That's not the point. Nathan's not saying that. He's not saying all pastors do this. He's saying they all play by this rule book. So potentially, if they wanted, all pastors could do this. That's the point. There's no system in place to keep them from doing it if they wanted to. That's what he's trying to fix. That's what he's trying to correct. That's his mission.
Doing,
but
any
have
pastor
you explored
can do.
have you explored why the game is there?
In regards to parsonages?
No, in regards to the entire IRS system and why churches don't have to file 990s.
Yes.
Why?
I spent 15 years on this.
So
in
what?
1913, the Congress defined the nonprofit sector and carved it out for one reason. 12,000 organizations in the U.S., which included churches, were building local social capital in their communities. They were doing one thing the federal government could not do, and that is help their local brother and their local neighbor.
Okay.
So the IRS carved out this nonprofit sector and said, hey, these 12,000 organizations are doing really good work in their community. We need to give them a special carve out where they don't have to pay taxes. And boom, nonprofit sector's formed. It's the
That's
Wild West.
nonprofit sectors. I'm talking about why the churches opt out of not having to do 990s. Why
The
they don't have
IRS
to.
does not require them to file a 990.
Why?
What's the, I don't know. What's the
religious freedom? I could
Well,
read you the
yes, of
cases
course, religious freedom.
because there's privacy regarding how the money comes in, who's giving the money, how the money is spent, and the separation of church and state protects the church
Dude,
from
all
the
your
state.
followers say there's no such thing as separation of church and state, Nathan. And so
that's the point. So there's separation of church and state, whatever. Anyways, Trump got rid of the Johnson Act. So we don't even need to talk about that, right? There really is no separation between church and state except for on the financial level, you guys. That's the only place there is. And I would argue that even on financial level, there isn't. I think that and this is just my opinion, I haven't looked into this, but I believe that the church is actually paying our officials, our government officials. They are the ones who are truly in charge, is the Catholic Church, you guys, the Jews, Israel, along with the Catholic Church, the Vatican. It's all, they're in charge, right? So separation of church and state it's a bullcrap argument. It just shows that Ruslan doesn't understand what he's talking about. I really want to give Ruslan the benefit of the doubt here, but man, he just makes all these really ignorant statements, right? As for his argument. It's just a lack of understanding and just all out, I will defend the church, and it's, but I don't have a dog in the fight, right? Except for you're the only dog fighting. Like, what are you talking about, dude? It's kind of funny. Yeah.
You can't,
what are you
I
talking
agree, separation of church and state.
Okay.
But this is the byproduct of separation of church and state. The revival capital of the world, which is Kenneth Copeland's scam, which is straight fraud.
I don't like Kenneth Copeland. You're pointing out people I agree with you on.
Rhythm Church's annual impact report.
Here, I brought you a copy.
Perfect. Can I see it?
Sure, you can see it.
So let's go through this. This is because
this is good.
You don't file 990s.
We don't file 990s.
You do?
We do not file 990s.
Cool. So this is a 56.
Here's the thing. Okay, he says we do not. Okay, Ruslan, Mr. I don't have a dog in the fight. Ruslan, Mr. I'm not on the payroll at my church. But we don't have a dog in the fight, or we don't pay 990 or file 990s. All this stuff. Yet he knows his pastor's salary. We'll get into that.
64-page document. There's
I marked it for you where you could see it.
There's 2 pages. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
There's 2 pages. Okay, so look at our giving statement. Read it out loud, please.
Your giving statement.
Not our budget. There's our annual budget right there.
No, this is your expenses.
That's our annual budget.
1.2
million.
Yes.
Okay, so read through it. What do we spend on it?
I have it printed out and marked. What's your revenue?
1.2 million.
No, this is your expenses.
That's our overall gross that came in for last year. 1.2 million.
So you spend every dollar that comes in.
So this year we have 400K in reserves, and we have 2 million that's coming in this year. Yes, I know my church is booked.
This is not a financial report, though.
Yeah, this is what we provide to our church of what comes in.
Gotcha.
So read it.
I've read it. What does Jeff Moores make?
I know what Jeff Moores make.
So what does he make?
This is what we provide to our church. Ruslan, it's not your church. It's God's church. But this is this elitist mindset that we have in the church, which is why Christ did away with the system. This is a prime example of what Ruslan is displaying here, this elitism, this it's why Christ did away with it, because we ended up with tiers of Christians, right? Because this is what they do. They say, well, we're the elites, we're the Pharisees, and everybody under us doesn't deserve to know anything else. We control the church. You guys just come here and enjoy it and give us your money, right? It's exactly what the temple was doing, you guys. Exactly what the temple did.
That part of the $444,000 in salary?
Yes.
Or is it different?
No, it is.
You have 15 staff.
We have 15 staff.
And
we live in Southern California, the most expensive city in the country.
Yes. So you pay $444,000 in income and benefits for 15 staff.
I think they do benefits on their own. I believe they do benefits on their own.
I thought it was earmarked.
No. The benefits, I think we can do benefits on our own. But
all salaries for Rhythm Church employees as well as employee benefits are tucked into that.
Yeah. So there's some benefits, but I don't know what they do specifically for health insurance. We recently had this conversation.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's our budget.
So see,
I brought it for you. Wait. That's available for any single person that walks in.
It is. I have it printed out right here. Yeah. But here's the problem: if you don't file a 990, you said $1.2 million in expenses. Is that your actual revenue?
Our revenue. I just told you the revenue, Nathan.
No, but this is what
Nathan,
I mean.
I just told you the revenue.
990 is a legal document with data fields that are
and I could read you why the church.
This is just loose. You can't
I
even
could read
understand
you why
this.
the government, right here, the federal government loses. Let me pull this out. The federal government does not require churches to file a 990 because it's a separation of church and state. That is why we don't file them. Purpose: annual 990 is an information return that most tax exemptions have to do. Churches opt out under the IRS 633. Churches, their integrated auxiliaries, and conventions or associations of churches are explicitly exempt from 990. This isn't a loophole. It's written into the federal government. Now, I want you to think about this, Nathan. There's 300,000 churches that are around. 300,000 churches. If all those churches,
it's closer to 400,000.
Okay. 400,000, 300 to 400,000. If they were all to file the 990, they would overload the IRS system, which is already wildly inefficient. I'm so serious.
The IRS, there is 1.9 million organizations registered with the IRS.
That's his argument, you guys. If churches filed taxes or 990 to show everybody where their money's going and how much money they're getting, it would overload the IRS. God forbid we make those IRS agents work. God forbid. Oh, man. I'm just looking up real quick. Hiring goals. The IRS aims to grow its workforce to over 100,000 employees, with the goal of adding another 10,000 employees under the current administration. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, this is a sad argument for why churches shouldn't be forthcoming and transparent with their money. Those poor IRS agents would have to work harder.
Yeah, and add another 400,000.
So somehow that overloads the IRS?
On top of the smaller churches.
You submit it via electronic form on your
On top
computer.
of the smaller churches that may not have the same access to accounting and budgeting and CPAs.
So that's your reason for not filing a 990 is it would
My
overload
reason is because the
IRS?
Supreme Court has ruled that the state must keep hands off internal governance of religious bodies according to Hosanna Zuber in 2012. Okay, that is why.
It'll be in my by my laptop.
So look, there's nothing wrong. I agree. I agree with what Ruslan's saying here, that the government should keep its hands off the church. That is a totally separate thing from being accountable and transparent with your money. You should have to file something that people are able to see how much money's coming in and where the money's going out. The fact that there's a cloak and there's secrecy in there and there's no way to know other than what the people who are the ones doing it tell you and what they allow you to know or not know, That's not accountability. That's not transparency. And that is wrong, especially when you're taking people's money for church things such as feeding the homeless, helping the widows, right? Paying for children, to help children out with schooling, whatever it may be. The things that Christ tells us in the Bible to take care of, right?
Okay, so the reason churches existed long before the tax system. So they are recognized as tax
Well, no, the
exempt.
tax system was around before then, but it was refining.
Yes.
Tax system reforms.
We didn't
constantly.
have federal taxes until 1910. Okay, so churches are automatically tax exempt.
Yes,
They
I
don't
understand
even
that.
have to apply for a 501c3 status. You know that.
I know that.
Okay,
And that's
so
what's
they're
even
tax
crazier.
exempt.
Ready?
This
So
is
here's-
this is
you don't,
what.
wait, this is a big one. You don't have to apply for 501c3 tax status. So you are a ghost to the government. So if I was a congregant getting ripped off and I called the IRS or filed a complaint, the IRS doesn't even know that my church exists.
Sure. Yeah, but if you don't like that sort of system, don't be a part of that sort of system.
I'm
The
definitely
pastor,
not.
The pastor. You said you go to church.
I visit a religious institution once a month. for
Tell
my
me how
daughter.
that works for you. How does your religious wait? Is it? Do you like it? Is it?
No, I can't stand it. It's the most annoying thing ever.
So you go to church. You said kind of for your daughter, and you kind of wanted to grow up in church and that whole deal.
No, my fiance or my ex-fiance like to go there.
You still kind of go. It's good vibes.
Yeah, well, she was born and raised in mega churches in Southern California, so she liked that. But a couple of my friends, one of my friends,
You still go regularly?
No,
I go to a home church.
Okay,
I got
you
a
guys.
buddy of mine that comes
So-
out of. So you go to a home church.
All right, you
I got
guys,
a buddy of mine that comes out of
we are going to stop here, I think, for the day. My video's getting long. I've done like gotten a half an hour through their video. I'm kind of just getting into the really good stuff, so that, I'm going to call this part 1. We're going to end here. And yeah, I mean, because we're an hour and a half already into it, and that's how these kind of reaction videos go, right? They kind of extend the original videos out, make them longer, because we got to stop and react. And I like to stop and react a lot. I talk a lot. I know it. I'm sorry. Anyways, so I'm going to stop right here. We're going to call this part 1. Like I said, stay tuned for part 2, you guys, because the next one, we really get into the good stuff. We're going to really be getting into the good stuff about this concerning this talk that's going on with the religion business kind of aspect of what churches are, because that's what the church building is, you guys. Make no mistake, it is a business, and people are getting very, very wealthy from it. Not all, but some. The little ones who have pastors who work and all this, that aren't getting really rich, they still need to be accountable for their money. I mean, we have churches that have congregants who are tithing or whatever they offer, instead of giving offerings every week, or as often as they can, as much as they can, because their pastors, a lot of the time make them think that that's, what they need to be doing, and they can't pay their bills, and they're behind on things, or their cars broke down, whatever it is. And they're still giving to the church. And what happens is when they go and ask for money or ask for help from the church, they're met with crickets. Like, they get no help. And it's my personal opinion that every person in the church, in the congregation, should be getting, like, every week, the offering should be taken, and then it should be given to the person who's hurting the worst at the time, who needs the most help at the time. And they should do that every single week. Give to their own congregation. Take offerings, not for the pastor's salary, not for the pastor's house. Let them go get a job like the rest of us. And trust me, it's not a lot of work to write a sermon every week, you guys. A lot of pastors don't even write their own sermons. They're somebody else doing it. But they even if they do, it's an hour-long sermon. All you got to do is teach the Bible. That's what you're supposed to be doing as a pastor anyways. Exegeting the Word of God. not giving some message that you came up with that goes along with a verse in the Bible. So it's not hard, right? And especially if you got volunteers and all this stuff, which is how it should be. But we should be taking, the offering should go to help the congregation, not outside of the walls. The money shouldn't come in and then go outside of the walls, which only 6% does, by the way. If you guys aren't aware, only 6% on average of money that comes into the church leaves the church walls. So why are the congregations from 90, and I'll say 99% of the churches, why are their congregants, a lot of the congregation hurting financially when only 6% goes out of the walls on average nationally? So something to think about. All right, I will leave you guys with that, and I love you. Stay true to the word, not to a man, not to a building, but stick with it, you guys. Oops, that was a little loud, wasn't it? Love ya. Hope you guys come back for more, and stay unfiltered. Peace.